Welcome back to another episode of Ministry. Welcome back to an episode of Ministry of Truth. I am your only host on this show, and it's about time Zippity Doodah finally showed her face. Her face. Show your face! But right now we're in a holding pattern because I am waiting for this press briefing with Caroline Levitt to start. But while we're doing that, we've got to get ready for a song to get in the mood. Not really the mood, because you think about it, rest in peace, Ozzy. But you're going to be what we're listening to this fine morning. And this song, if I remember right, is the very first Ozzy Osbourne album. The song I remember listening to. And this No More Tears was the very first Ozzy Osbourne album I ever bought. My first album I ever bought was Nirvana. Never mind. But anyway, it's one of my favorite songs. You're going to hear it. I'm going to hear it until YouTube kicks it off. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get some Ozzy. Nigga, I don't delete any comments. What are you talking about? See? It's there. Both of them. Unless you type something that wasn't supposed to be there. And by nigga, I mean middle-aged white woman. What? You just deleting middle fingers now? What a fucking jackass. I mean, reputable, nah, fuck that. Totally forgot. Make sure all of you go get your coffee, go get your bagel. It's noon here, so I'm pretty sure you can start drinking. For those of us that day drink. I used to day drink all the fucking time. And then I got out of the army and I drank all day for about a year. I would easily finish a bottle of bourbon a day. Good bourbon, too. Good bourbon. And straight. Maybe 3 ice cubes. 3 ice cubes is like the max. But anyway, sorry. We can't really think of that. Oh, Caroline. Alright, sorry, Oz. Sorry. I'm just one. Hello, Harper. Good to see you, madam. Where are you going? On Wednesday. The White House is always fucking late. Fucking not telling you. So, still waiting for Caroline to show up. But, let's do a little something different while we're waiting. Because I do have articles. I do have a few segments I want to talk about, but I don't want to start talking about them until Caroline Levitt, or I can just tell Caroline to fucking sit on the back burner and we can watch it later. What's this? All right, that has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but let's take a little trip down memory lane. Y'all ready for this?
Gotta get in that close.
Hold on a second. Still not yet, so we get to enjoy some more amazing Blazing Saddles. Where the white women at? But listen, this is what us Gen Xers grew up watching. Mel Brooks movies. Mel Brooks. And he's a very, very Jewish guy. There's Mel Brooks right there.
Innocent women and children blown to bits.
Spaceballs. Speaking of Spaceballs,
I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Spaceballs actually has a sequel coming out. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Harumph. This friggin' thing is warped. Why do we always get a warped one?
I'd like you to meet the new... Excuse me while I whip this out. What'd you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's play chess.
Look at that.
Steady as a rock.
Yeah, but I shoot with this hand.
Oh.
How about some more beans, Mr. Taggart?
I'd say you've had enough.
Listen, Bart. I want you to do me a favor.
Isn't it a lovely morning?
No, don't do that. Don't do that. If you shoot...
We'll give some land to the niggers and the chinks,
Oh,
but we don't want the Irish.
I think that was it. Yeah. All right, that was Blazing Saddles. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Still waiting on the press fucking secretary to get her shit together. So we'll move on. And I guess we will have to stop in the middle of what I want to talk about. So back to Ozzy. Close Blazing Saddles. Forward. All right, so as you don't know, for some reason, our members of the House, mainly Mike Johnson, shut down early, this session early, so that they can go on their five-week vacation in Congress, right before they had a vote to release some of the Epstein documents. Okay? I mean, they can vote, right? But doesn't a court still have to unseal those documents like they're talking about, especially the grand jury indictments? But you'd think, considering you had members on both sides calling for this list, to include Mike Johnson, that they would have indeed allowed this client list to come out. Now, do I think that's going to matter when this client list comes out? No. What I am waiting for, and it's funny because I posted a meme on this 3 years ago, that I want to see Ghislaine Maxwell's Black Book. And luckily for us, hopefully, that they're working on getting Ghislaine Maxwell to come before Congress, or at least a special counsel, and talk about what she knows. So pretty much not to give herself a free and clear out, because she's not going to get off on these charges she's already been caught for. Hopefully, though, like I said, the justice system will take place. do its job? I doubt it, though. Just like with Obama. Is Obama going to jail? Absolutely not. Did he commit treason? Probably. Depends on what your definition of treason is, who you're talking to. Some consider January 6th to be treason, but it's not. Was it an insurrection? I don't know. Were the LA riots recently an insurrection? Were Antifa riots an insurrection when they were going inside and taking over police departments and courthouses and libraries, federal buildings? No one got arrested for that. So we're going to talk to two people. And you know what? It's funny when you look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Everybody thought she was nuts. Sometimes I still think she is. But she, along with a few other, have been adamant about putting this list out and putting this shit to rest. And as you know, she is a huge MAGA supporter. She is probably one of the original in the movement. She's coming out. Thomas Massie also coming out, which is expected. But they're coming out publicly against Donald Trump and Senate for all this. Crazy. My buddy sent me a message this morning that maybe, just maybe, this whole Barack Obama thing got released because he fucked up with the Epstein issue. Now, if there's any truth to that, I don't know. Could be a combination of both. But we all know that list is not coming out because of who's in this country. It's coming out because of who's in other countries. But anyway, let's get to Thomas Massie. I believe this is MTG.
On this non-binding resolution vote?
Because if he walks backwards, he may fall down.
That would be terrible.
That would not be good. Are you going to sign on to this discharge petition, Thomas Massie's discharge petition?
Yes, I'm going to.
And why is that?
I believe in transparency, and I believe the American people. This is a serious issue. I can tell you, for the past, more than a week, the highest volume of calls into my office have been about Epstein. People want the information. They don't want things covered up, especially when it comes to the most well-known convicted pedophile in modern-day history. It's important to them, and they really want the information out.
The Speaker says he's not going to have a vote before the August recess.
Of course not, little fucking weasel.
He's also not having votes on a lot of appropriation bills that we need to pass before August recess. I think there's a problem there. Speaker Johnson also didn't allow us to make amendments.
Like, that's one big thing I've always hated about these congressionals. They will literally take a month off every 3 weeks, or every 3 months, 2-3 months like that. Bro, imagine if we, in a civilized society, we got to take off a month of work as a vacation. And then on top of that, you get paid $174,000 a year, plus expenses paid.
Amendments on the Genius Act last week that had a backdoor for a central bank digital currency and did not protect people's chain of custody when it comes to stablecoin and crypto. So there's a lot of things I would like to see Speaker Johnson do, allowing us to do our job, like introduce amendments, pass appropriations, which are important to our districts, by the way. Those appropriation requests is exactly what our districts deserve. And then as well as allowing discharge petitions come to the floor.
The president wants to move on, though. He thinks that enough has been released. What's your reaction to that?
Well, actually, I applaud the president and Pam Bondi for her move to unseal, or ask the judge to unseal the records.
So, hear me out. What can Congress do to release these documents if a federal judge has to review this and say, okay, we're releasing this part? What is Congress's role in that? There shouldn't be. What are you going to do? Write a strongly worded letter to Pam Bondi? Yeah, we see a lot of that the past 4 years, didn't we, Jim Jordan? Love the man. But these strongly worded letters don't get shit done. They only make it drag on longer and longer. And these letters get ignored.
in the court. So looking forward to seeing what information comes out.
Do you think she should testify to Congress, Pam Bondi?
Not at this time. I think she's made the right move, and I was really glad to see her do that. So that's up to that court and that judge to see if the records are unsealed. I think also important things is we're going to be coming up on a September 30th deadline, government funding deadline, and I think the Republican-controlled Congress should be passing appropriations, not another CR.
My gym AC just went out, and it's going to cost $50,000 to repair. That's crazy.
Can I ask you, the speaker said
I mean, I can make old Jim a comment, I guess.
He said it's a tool of the minority. What do you make of those comments?
Well, I think discharge petitions are actually important. I think that every single district in the country votes for their representative, and whether they're in the majority or the minority, and that's the purpose of a discharge petition, is if 218 members of Congress sign it, that takes a combination of Republicans and Democrats, right? And then that allows something to come to the floor for a vote.
The president's really frustrated, though, as you've seen him on Truth Social, and Republicans who are calling for more information. What do you make of his frustration? He said, calling
Somebody had said something that for the past 4 years, Democrats had ample time to release this list. They didn't even mention Epstein in the past 4 years. But as soon as this whole issue came out, they fucking attacked it like piranha fish. They don't fucking care. They just know, oh, this is the way we can get some of these conservatives voters back on our side. Bro, both sides are bad. Both sides are bad. That's why you have to remain neutral. You can pick your battles. Oh, yeah, you can pick your battles. But don't fight someone else's fight.
Republicans were weaklings. He said this is a Democratic hoax and the like.
You know, I really like President Trump, so I enjoy a lot of the things that he says. I think he's funny. I also think he has a great pulse on things, but on this issue, the American people really want to see transparency. It's become one of those basically fractures that is too big to ignore. And I'm really thankful that Pam Bondi is asking the courts to unseal some more.
So every politician for the past, well, since Trump was first, actually Obama, everybody was running on, we need transparency between the government and the American people. Politicians have been promising that forever. But there's no transparency. If we have to continually, as American people and voters, ask of our leadership, hey, we want this done. What are you going to do about it? Because you promised us this. Again, politicians promise a lot of shit. You promised this would happen. And the whole, how do I say this? This whole administration has been about transparency, but not. That's not what I meant to say. I actually don't remember what I was about to say. I had too many things going in my mind at once. Both sides are evil. Like with anything. Both sides will lie. Both sides will slander. And, you know, of course, if you're on one side or the other, as soon as you hear something go against what your train of thought is or what you feel, you get attacked. I get it. That's just the way of life. But when I hear people say, I don't give a shit about what people say about me and all that, and then you go on a fucking 3-hour tangent, you, in fact, do care what people think about you. Take this. If the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe fits, wear it. Sorry, I've got a lot to say, but we're when it seems to come time to go live, I fucking forget.
No.
Now, if this guy runs for president, I'm probably voting for him.
It's a tool of the American people. When the speaker stands in the way of justice and transparency, this is how we get justice. We get 218 people to sign a resolution that says we're going to bring this bill to the floor. This is phase 2.
The speaker says there's not going to be a vote before the August recess on this separate bill. What do you say to him?
Well, lucky for him, there are only 6 legislative days between when I introduced this bill, and I need 7 legislative days for the bill to ripen and then get the discharge petition signatures. So what will happen is, over the August recess, I think momentum will build for transparency. I don't think this is going to go away. And I think when we return in September, we'll get phase 2 of the Epstein files.
Y'all hear that,
because
right?
We'll get, I believe, every Democrat and at least a dozen Republicans who want transparency and justice.
Why
begin with
September. Fucking September. Let me see. Home. No. Profile. Yep. So this is the meme I posted 3 years ago. Hold on. You see that? Release the Maxwell client list. Oh, let me make it bigger so y'all can see it. Releasing the Maxwell client list could bring down the entire government and mainstream media. Your terms are acceptable. See? Maxwell. Maybe I knew something. Maybe. But yeah. Alright, let's continue on because it doesn't look like Caroline has started. Nope. So let's continue with what I have next. And oh my god. Yeah, I came across this story yesterday. The shitty thing about this is the dad in this story is an absolute piece of shit. I hope he gets fucking... What the fuck was that? I hope he gets his asshole destroyed in prison right before they scalp him.
with that tragic case out of Kingsville where a newborn baby was found dead inside a Walmart bathroom on Monday. Tonight, the father of the teen girl suspected of abandoning that child is facing...
Here we go.
Families of the victims in the brutal murder case in Idaho, who were sharing their heart-wrenching stories about their loved ones before the court today and addressing the evil killer who took 4 precious souls. We are so sorry for the grief and the pain you have experienced at the hands of such a vicious and evil killer. Our nation grieves with you, and we will never forget the precious souls who were lost in this horrific act of evil. If it were up to the president, he would have forced this monster to publicly explain why he chose to steal these innocent souls. May God bless and watch over everyone affected by this unimaginable tragedy, especially the parents who lost their children. Let me begin with a few scheduling items off the top. Later this afternoon, President Trump will deliver the keynote address at the Winning the AI Race Summit here in Washington, D.C. President Trump believes it is non-negotiable that the United States wins the AI race, which is why today, President Trump will announce a bold and comprehensive AI action plan to sustain and enhance America's global AI dominance. Under President Trump's leadership, our country will lead the world in AI to secure a brighter future for all Americans, massively grow our economy, and protect our national security. The president will also sign 3 executive orders at the event this afternoon.
Fucking AI.
On Friday morning, President Trump will travel to Scotland for a working visit that will include a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Starmer to reflect.
It's funny when it comes to the AI. Thank you, grab that. when I went to go check my YouTube studio to make sure I had all my settings right, there's an option for AI to help you with your videos and shit like that. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is great. Never going to use it. Don't trust it, especially when it's a Google product.
Find the historic U.S.-UK trade deal. On the topic of trade, yesterday, President Trump accomplished something no other
He sure as
president
fuck
has
did. Listen
ever
to this.
achieved. The president secured and announced 3 major trade deals with the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan, all in one day. President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off. As a result of the president's successful negotiating tactics, many foreign markets are now being opened to American industries for the very first time, and harmful trade barriers are being broken down. Thanks to President Trump, these countries around the world are agreeing to open their markets to American-made products and goods for the first time, which will lead to a boom in sales and profits for American businesses right here at home. As President Trump said, he will only lower tariff rates if a country agrees to open their market to American-made products. If not, they will continue to face tariffs and pay a steep price to do business in the United States of America, which remains the best market on the face of the planet. Also this week, the president officially marked 6 months here at the White House. He made big promises to the American people on the campaign trail last year, and he has unquestionably delivered on those promises in record time. The president has defeated the Biden inflation.
It was like 2 or 3 days in a row because we talked about her not wearing her cross when she lied about Epstein. But this is like 2 or 3 days in a row where she's had these button up or all the way up to the neck collars, but you still don't see a cross.
Crisis to make America affordable again. Core inflation is currently at its lowest level in 4 years, and prices for everyday goods are falling. The president's pro-growth policies have fueled massive job growth across our country. Since the president has taken office, our economy has added nearly 700,000 new jobs, with native-born American workers accounting for all job gains. The president has put the economic needs of families and of workers first. He signed the largest tax cuts for the middle class in American history, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. We have also seen the president unquestionably deliver on his promise to secure our southern border. He has ended Biden's illegal alien invasion, and for 2 months in a row,
no tax on military retirement. That would be cool.
0 illegal aliens were released into our country. The president has also, as you all know, initiated the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. The president has also restored law and order to make America safe again, another campaign promise he vowed to the American public. The United States of America is currently on track for its lowest murder rate on record, following this shift from the last administration to the Trump administration. The president has also ended...
Really? I mean, it's still early. Summer months just started, really. Well, you know what I mean.
Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy. U.S. oil and natural gas production are now surging, and summer gas prices reached their lowest level since 2021. The president has also rebuilt our military, another campaign promise. He just signed the largest military investment in decades to modernize our armed forces with cutting-edge technology to replenish our stockpiles and provide American troops with the best equipment in the world. The U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force have all reached their recruitment goals months in advance. The president has restored America's standing on the world stage, brought back peace through strength, and brokered numerous peace agreements to end wars. Again, all of this in just 6 months. He obliterated Iran's nuclear program to end the war.
By the way, if you're wondering why she didn't say the Marines actually fall under the Department of the Navy. They really hate it when you remind them of that.
War between Israel and Iran got NATO members to raise their defense spending to 5% of GDP and secured a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, as well as brokering a historic agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The president has already received 3 different Nobel Peace Prize nominations for his peacemaking efforts. Again, all of this progress, all of these accomplishments have occurred in just 6 months. We are truly just getting started, and we look forward to working with all of you for the next 3.5 years. On another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people. While publicly pretending to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, in private, former President Obama went to great and nefarious
I like how they have
lengths to try
PowerPoints
to
now.
sow discord among the public and sabotage his successor, President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth, and so did all of the other corrupt officials involved in this scam, including former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director.
You think anybody that's in the Senate like Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, you think they knew about it? I think they did.
Director James Comey, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and many others. Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's report further confirms what we already knew. There was no collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized intelligence agencies at the time. The Russia hoax was a blatant lie, all ginned up by Democrat political operatives that were signed off on by then President Obama and leaked to the news media to launch a years-long witch hunt against President Trump and his first administration. Allies of the president, including his own son, Donald Trump Jr., were disgustingly smeared as Russian assets, and some even had their lives destroyed because of this vicious lie. The president's first 2 years in office had this fake distraction hanging over it, and endless resources, time, and political capital were spent having to debunk these lies from the highest levels of our government. Now, nearly 10 years later, thanks to the declassification of documents by Director Gabbard, the truth has finally come to light. And this truth vindicates President Trump, his family, and his many allies and associates who were smeared with defamatory lies. President Trump was right from the beginning about all of this, and we are grateful that justice can be served. Now, we have even more damning evidence implicating those who tried to sabotage a duly elected president and did grave material harm to our republic. Thanks to additional important work done by CIA Director Ratcliffe, Committee Chairman Rick Crawford over the past few months, a newly declassified 20...
As soon as you say Ratcliffe, his name comes up, but not in a bad way. Crazy, isn't it?
2020 report prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which DNI Director Gabbard has declassified, found that the intel community did not have any direct information that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help elect President Trump in 2016. And in fact, Russia was actively preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the unusual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are sitting in this room today, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, were ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes for their perpetuation of this hoax. It's well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who received them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative. I will now pass it over to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to speak more about all of this, and then we will open it up for questions afterwards. Tulsi, thank you for being here.
Ma'am,
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified Oversight Majority Staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence.
I don't know if she's going to mention it, but I just read something that, wow. Clinton was sedated, Hillary, for emotional problems and was taking heavy tranquilizers. She had reported medical issues including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, DVTs, COPD, and chronic fatigue. Obama and senior party officials reportedly found her health condition extraordinarily alarming.
Community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will.
Now that makes sense. Remember when they had that video of like Hillary kind of sort of collapsing, getting back into her van? You guys remember when I talked about it about a couple years ago? That kind of makes sense, considering her health conditions, which, weird. It's all about hiding certain medical conditions with the Democratic Party and its administration. Remember Lloyd Austin?
Will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI records, Senator Chuck Grassley's release on
Yeah,
Monday,
you remember that,
what is
Roots.
known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence report, which investigated the claims that were made by an intelligence community assessment ordered by President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory. The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess quote-unquote Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump.
So the way it sounds, I'm going to back this up a little bit. Putin thought Hillary was going to win. And they said he was going to wait to release all that stuff to what? Destabilize the American trust. What would have happened if she did win and that happened? What would have happened if she had won and that happened? Yeah. You know what I mean. And again, what would have happened if Kamala Harris won? It's all about what ifs.
Community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump, including this intelligence reporting, would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous. The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were quote-unquote planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency. The Presidential Daily Brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to quote-unquote new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others. Following that secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the President, President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created an intelligence community assessment limited to just 5 analysts, using one principal drafter. This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment that reflects the views across the intelligence community. The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political appointees, especially the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report also shows how later that same day, on December 9th, Brennan ordered the publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments because the information was judged, quote, to have not met long-standing publication standards. Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was, quote-unquote, unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's oversight report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who challenged the Obama-ordered intelligence assessment, stating, quote, "We don't
Actually,
have
yeah, I
direct
could see that.
information that Putin wanted to get Trump
Really good.
elected." Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, "We assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances, when possible, by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him." End of quote. The CIA and FBI, then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true. With regards to the Steele dossier, we now know that one of the source documents that the Obama administration used in the creation of this intelligence assessment in January of 2017 was none other than the discredited, unverified Steele dossier. The House Intel report states, quote, "Contradicting public claims by then CIA Director Brennan that the dossier was not in any way incorporated into this intelligence assessment. The dossier was referenced in the intelligence assessment's main body text and further detailed in a 2-page assessment annex. John Brennan lied, and he denied using this dossier in this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered because he knew it was discredited. It was a politically motivated, manufactured document. He directed senior CIA officials to use it anyway." CIA officer told the House Intelligence Committee staff as they investigated this, quote, "The director of the CIA, John Brennan, refused to remove it, and when confronted with the dossier's many flaws, responded, quote, 'Yes, but doesn't it ring true?'" Even the bipartisan Senate Select Committee on Intelligence report published in 2020 criticized the FBI's handling of the Steele dossier, noting its completely unverified nature and purposeful sidestepping of intelligence community procedures in its use. Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 intelligence community assessment with high confidence as though it were fact. John Brennan, as CIA director, stated in a memo to his agency staff in December of 2016, saying, quote, "There is
None of the guys she's mentioned so far got a pardon from Biden.
strong consensus among us on the scope, nature, and intent of Russian interference in our presidential election." This was reported by NBC News, confirming that Brennan, along with James Clapper and James Comey, agreed with the CIA's assessment that Russia intervened to help Trump win the presidency. As Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper was tasked with overseeing the creation of this assessment in January of 2017 by President Obama, and he expressed confidence in its findings. In a 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, he talked about how he provided Trump with the same classified assessment that President Obama received, which included the high confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. Clapper then went on to add, "I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome." This is a brief summary of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment. That leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be...
She's telling all this stuff, and they're going to be like, whoa, how come we should, why aren't they being prosecuted right now? Well, funny story. She has to recommend it to the Department of Justice. Department of Justice is the one who's going to have to decide, oh, we're going to press charges or not. The Department of Justice, guys. Pam Bondi. Interesting.
a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tulsi. And we do want to take questions on this topic while the director has time
That
for
looks
this
like some
topic.
fun.
She will leave. I'm happy to take questions on other matters after that. But if anyone has questions for Director Gabbard, you're welcome to ask them. We'll start with our new media seat as always. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Gabbard, this one is for you. Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
Former
The
President
evidence,
Obama?
correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as
There you
I
go.
said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this.
I knew they got a smaller basketball.
In a bipartisan fashion. Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us, from a 50,000-foot level, explain, what do you now have that refutes those two conclusions?
I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you in the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals, who are some still working within these agencies today, that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn. That President Obama
It's not the video, dude. It's actually quiet. That's why I had to put headphones on.
Created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And it's your belief that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence, and you will know the truth.
John.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, Director Gabbard. You declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were working in the government who sought to undermine his presidency. That's been clearly detailed. What I can speak to is the fact that this was one of the first things that we started to investigate here within this Trump administration and have released the results upon the conclusion of our investigation.
And then my second question has to do with what intelligence agencies around the world have said about Russia. That they have tried to influence elections in the United States, in France, in Germany, in the UK. Do you disagree with that? Do you believe that Russia is a bad actor?
This motherfucker's complaining about Russia trying to interfere with all these elections around the world. Right at the same fucking time. Bro. We do the same thing. We do the exact same thing. So Russia is also the bad guy for doing what we do? How do you think Zelensky got fucking elected?
as it relates to trying to influence elections?
I'll point back to the intelligence that President Trump has ordered declassified, that we have declassified and released, that the intelligence reflects Russia's motives were to try to sow discord and chaos within the U.S. election, which is a clear distinction from showing a preference for or against a specific candidate, which is what the Obama manufactured intelligence document alleges, that Russia preferred Donald Trump and tried to help Donald Trump get elected. Again, going back to the most important point here, with the intent to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election and therefore subvert the will of the American people who chose to send him to the White House.
Reagan. Thanks, Caroline. Director Gabbard, Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. You laid out that the documents revealed that the Obama administration did not publish a December 2016 presidential daily briefing that demonstrated that Russia did not steal the election. Trump was receiving these briefings at the time because he was president-elect. Are you of the view
Was he, though?
that information was kept out of the briefing because then President-elect Donald Trump would have seen it?
I don't have any documents that speak to exactly what the new guidance was that was given as the reason for pulling that document, which, by the way, still has never been published until we released it last week, Friday. One could assume that they didn't want President Trump to see a document that came from the intelligence community that would contradict the Russia hoax narrative that began through the Hillary
She's got some
Clinton
small-ass lips.
With the Steele dossier.
One more, maybe either for you or Caroline. The president said yesterday that Obama committed treason. Do you or the White House believe that the Supreme Court's immunity decision protects Obama from prosecution?
Look, I can speak.
The Supreme Court thing says the president has immunity, right? While how do I say this? While in the official capacity of the president, right? That was not the official capacity of the president. That should not have happened.
To the president's feelings on this matter. He spoke to all of you yesterday in the Oval Office, but I also spoke to him about this morning. And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this. And I would just add, based on everything the director has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this hoax, Clapper, Andy McCabe, James Comey, and many others, have been hired by major networks in this room to go on television and continue to spew these lies, knowing that they are lies. And if you all recall, just flashback to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party. And you had major Democrat Party officials in this city, namely Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, who went on television and told the American people, Donald Trump is an asset of Russia. It was a lie. They always knew it. Hillary Clinton herself said that President Trump would be a puppet for Putin. Senator Tim Kaine at the time called President Trump Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer. Adam Schiff stated, and one of the worst things a lawmaker can do is to tell the American people, I know something you don't know, it's just classified and I can't tell you. And that's what he said. I can tell you that the case is more than that. I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. And not enough people in this room, not enough journalists in this country pushed Adam Schiff to say, what are you talking about? What evidence do you have? Everybody just ran with the lies, and it led to impeachments. It led to the division of our country. Unfortunately, so many Americans, from listening to outlets in this room, believed in these lies. And it's a complete scam, and it's a scandal, and the president wants to see accountability for that. Phil.
Thank you. Question for Director Gabbard. A spokesperson for former President Obama said in a statement earlier this week, quote, nothing in the documents issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 election but did not successfully manipulate any votes. How do you respond to critics like former President Obama and also others on the Hill who say that the administration is conflating apples and oranges here, conflating allegations of actual hacking of voter machines and allegations of interference generally.
Oh shit, that's the same election in the primaries where I actually voted for Tulsi. It's also the same primaries where I voted for, was it 2016? Rand Paul.
A disservice to the American people that former President Obama's office and others who are criticizing
but Schiff has a pardon.
Transparency that is being delivered by releasing these documents. They are doing a disservice to the American people and trying to deflect away from their culpability in what is a historic scandal and negative action towards the American people and our democratic republic. The answer to that statement can very clearly be found throughout all of the documents that we have released. Again, showing that Russia has took action to try to sow discord in the election, but showed no preference for or against any singular candidate.
You've long been an opponent of weaponization in government. How do you respond to criticism that referring Obama administration officials and even potentially the former president?
Yeah, so this is during the time frame where, you know, Biden covered him for what, 10 to 7 years, some of them even longer. But yeah, it pretty much covers this whole entire time frame. Crazy, isn't it?
The criticism that referring Obama administration officials and even potentially the former president is just more weaponization, and this is a potential race to the bottom.
I think that's a very disrespectful attack on the American people who deserve the truth. They deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, which has been undermined by President Obama through his direction of this manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies and knowing that it would and could then be
Adam
used
Schiff
for
is
all
such
of the
a piece of
actions
shit.
That came after.
And I would just add, there needs to be accountability for that weaponization, Phil, that we've seen. And no one has been a victim of the weaponized government more than President Trump, not just because of this political scandal. You all recall his house was raided. So I think, you know, it's very disingenuous for people to say, how dare they speak of former President Obama about this based on evidence and based on intelligence when the former president of the United States, Donald Trump's home was raided, when he was forced to sit in a Manhattan courtroom and many other courtrooms across the country for crimes he never committed, when he was impeached and indicted, and the entire country witnessed that. That's the weaponization of justice. Now the president is back because the American people see the truth. Nearly 80 million Americans reelected him back to this office, and he believes that we need to have justice and accountability. And I think the nearly 80 million Americans who reelected him agree with that. Caitlin.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions for Director Gabbard just on this. Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians. All of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to
Of course it's
Iran. He
Caitlin.
said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to, and that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made. Does anyone else have questions for Director Gabbard? And then we'll turn it over to a couple other questions. Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Director Gabbard, 2 follow-ups on questions that have been asked. You mentioned the previous DNIs during the president's first term. One of them reports to you right now, if I'm not mistaken, John Ratcliffe. So have you not spoken to him about why this information wasn't classified during the first term?
He was in that position for a very short period of time. The work that began back then, we have picked up and absolutely completed. We are continuing to investigate this. Additional whistleblowers are now coming forward because they see an opportunity for the truth to come to light. And as Caroline said, for real accountability to be brought forward. The accountability is the essential part of this. We can show the truth, reveal the truth.
What's up, Angela?
Accountability needs to occur to be able to start to restore that trust.
Hope you're doing well.
In the integrity of our democracy.
And then just quickly, I know you said you would leave the charging to DOJ, but the statute of limitations on conspiracy is 5 years. So what else could they possibly pursue besides treason?
I think that's a great question for Attorney General Pam Bondi. We're providing all of the evidence, all of the intelligence that we have, both redacted and unredacted versions, referring it to the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Dude,
We'll take one more, Charlie. Go ahead.
I would totally smash Tulsi though, 100%.
The report said that it was from sourced from the DNC. Have you seen that information, or do you think that maybe Russia was overemphasizing what they had?
All I have seen is what the Intelligence Committee have reported through their investigation. I think the underlying point there is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had. And the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election, as President Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election, they would have released the most damning of that information, some of which I detailed here. You'll find the rest in the report, prior to the election to help Donald Trump win. They specifically withheld what they had on her, the most damning information, because they thought that she would win the election. They had plans to release it just prior to her inauguration to, again, sow discord and chaos in America.
And if I may, on Jeffrey Epstein, can you rule out that he was connected in some way to any kind of intelligence, either foreign or domestic?
I haven't seen any evidence or information that reflects that.
Have you looked?
If anything comes before me that changes that in any way, support the president's statement loud and clear. If any credible evidence comes forward, he wants the American people to see it.
Great. Director Gabbard, we thank you for your time today. I know you're a busy woman, so we'll let you get out of here, but thank you so much.
Bye, Tulsi.
Okay. I know
Hello,
there's
Caroline.
many issues going on today across the world and here at home. If you have any other further questions, I'm happy to take them. Ed, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So the Japan trade deal, is that Japan trade deal the start of this number of trade deals that the Treasury Secretary says we're
It's
going
one
to
of them.
by August 1st?
I think it is. I mean, as you said, we had Japan yesterday. We also had Indonesia, and we had the...
When they were talking about the Obama and the Russian collusion hoax, that he had all this done to try and... I can't remember the word I was going to use. set up Trump's presidency pretty much.
Philippines as well. The president announcing
Remember, the Philippines were sending all our ammo as like a tip-off ammo point.
all three. He came in as the closer in all three of those. I've said many times from this podium that the president's trade team has been in active talks and discussions with many countries around the world, and you've all been anxiously awaiting what those countries were. Now you know three of them, and there's many more to go. We have now sent 25 letters to countries around the world. But just to reiterate this Japan deal for those at home who may have
right,
missed it,
Angela?
Japan will now pay a 15%
Gotcha.
tariff versus the reciprocal rate of 24% that they initially had. Auto and auto parts tariffs have been reduced to 15%, but the centerpiece of this deal now is the president got Japan to commit to $550 billion in investments to revitalize American industries. And these funds will be spent at President Trump's discretion and direction into key industries such as energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and shipbuilding. And the U.S. will retain 90% of the profits from any investments made by this $550 billion fund. This was originally a $400 billion investment that President Trump then negotiated to an increase of $150 billion, making it a $550 billion deal for the American people. And I just want to emphasize, Ed, I see you have a follow-up, but it's very important. Japan has agreed to open their markets to many very key
So does that mean rice burners are going to cost a little bit less?
sectors and American-made products that have
What's up,
really
Juniper?
faced very strict tariff and non-tariff barriers prior. So thanks to the president, Japan's markets will now be open to American-made products and goods. This is big news for our tech companies and our farmers as well.
On Monday, the Treasury Secretary is going to Stockholm to talk to the Chinese delegation. What does the president hope to get out of that meeting? Are there deliverables?
I won't speak to any deliverables or set expectations. I'll let the Secretary of Treasury do that. But I did speak to him yesterday about his upcoming trip, and he looks forward to...
Listen, I think most Americans, when it comes to China, the only part that they're upset about is fucking Temu. What's that other one? What's that other one? Come on, guys, help me out here. And TikTok. Temu and TikTok. And there's another one I can't remember right now that my wife tries to, and my kids used to shop from. And I told them, nope, you're going to be paying more.
Continuing discussions with his Chinese counterparts. The president has ensured that we have a good continuing working relationship with China that benefits the United States. And so the Secretary of Treasury will be obviously discussing those key matters, but I'll let him set the expectations.
One more, if I may.
Sure.
Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe
that's the
President
one.
Obama should go to jail?
Juniper.
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Special Envoy Wickoff is headed overseas again.
Good to see you, Olivia. I haven't seen you since the campaign trip.
What's really fucked up is you two knew exactly what I was talking about. Oh, fuck.
It's good to see you. He's headed back overseas. Can you give us a sense of what the marching orders are to some of the people he'll be meeting with, and specifically as it relates to Gaza and ongoing talks there?
Yes, Special Envoy Wickoff is headed to Europe, where he will meet with key leaders from the Middle East to discuss the ongoing ceasefire proposal to end this conflict in Gaza and to release the hostages. These are very sensitive negotiations that are currently taking place. I spoke to Special Envoy Wickoff last night about them. I will let him speak further on the matter, but the President and Special Envoy Wickoff has made the administration's goals clear. We want this ceasefire to happen as soon as possible, and we want these hostages to be released. Go ahead.
A Florida federal judge has refused to allow the Epstein grand jury materials to be released.
Oh.
Does the president want the administration or Department of Justice to appeal that ruling?
What the
that
fuck?
was just breaking as the director and I were coming out here, so I haven't had a chance to talk to the president about it.
That's why I didn't know. That fucking judge. Alright, now the Senate can fucking get off their ass. What are they doing? Write your senators, or your representatives. Be like, what the fuck, bro? Now we know it's never coming out. Never. Never ever. Never ever ever.
Understand there are 2 other requests from the Department of Justice that are ongoing, but I'll let this president speak to whether he wants to see an appeal in the Department of Justice. I'm sure can give you a statement on that as well.
Is he supportive of the want the administration? Florida federal judges
Want these hostages to be released. Go ahead.
Carolyn, Florida federal judge has refused to allow the Epstein grand jury materials to be released. Does the president want the administration or Department of Justice to appeal that ruling?
That was just breaking as the director and I were coming out here, so I haven't had a chance to talk to the president about it. I understand there are 2 other requests from the Department of Justice that are ongoing, but I'll let this president speak to whether he wants to see an appeal in the Department of Justice. I'm sure can give you a statement on that as well.
Is he supportive of the effort to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell? I know that Todd Blanchard mentioned
I hope so.
Earlier this week.
The president spoke to this yesterday, and he said he thinks it's an appropriate idea. Kelly.
What is the accountability that you would like to see if this current president is the one who brought the case to the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts made clear in his opinion that a sitting president's responsibilities in office cannot lead to prosecution?
What is he talking about?
So what is it the President Trump wants regarding President Obama, given that fact? And the special counsel at the time, Durham, when that Supreme Court matter was not in effect, could have charged anyone and did not. So on those 2 points, how do you respond?
Look, the president has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies and this scandal to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
Well, you would agree
Stephanie.
President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity.
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice. Stephanie.
In light of the Japan deal, are sectoral tariffs now up for negotiation with trading partners? And in a similar note, are these negotiators asking for investment funds, sort of like what Japan had agreed to?
As for sectoral tariffs, I understand that the president continues to be in talks with our Secretary of Commerce. We have made commitments on various sectoral tariffs, as you know. The Department of Commerce has initiated studies to then move forward with implementing those sectoral tariffs. So I would defer you to them for further comment. Meredith.
I wanted to ask if the White House has any update on the Commerce Department employee who's been detained or banned from exiting China, and if there are any efforts to get him out.
I can assure you and the American people that the administration is actively monitoring the situation and engaged, but typically we don't comment on individual cases like this as we are sorting them out. Sure.
Yes.
Behind you, Dr. Harper, sorry. Go ahead.
Dr. Harper?
To the lady sitting down in the blue, yes.
Thanks,
What's your name?
Caroline.
What's your name?
My name is Caroline also.
Oh.
Caroline Bodo with the Center Square.
Great.
So Republicans in the Senate today said that they are pulling back on legislation to impose sanctions on Russia after the president said he wants to act unilaterally. Can you elaborate on what the president intends to do?
Look, the president has been in very close communication with his friends in the Senate, particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, on this issue.
What a faggot.
The president has always maintained, he's the commander-in-chief and the president for a reason, and he has been deeply involved in this conflict since the beginning. And so any decisions that are made with respect to sanctions, the president wants to reserve that authority and that right to himself. Jasmine.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions for you. The first on AI. Does President Trump support federal agencies contracting with Elon Musk's AI company?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he would want the DOJ to then cancel the contract with Musk.
I'll talk to him about it, yes.
And my second question, just, obviously the developments with the Epstein case with the judge, but I wonder, has the White House counsel, the DOJ explored any other documents that could be released to the public?
It's a good question.
That don't have to do with that grand jury testimony?
To my knowledge, the Department of Justice has moved forward with the request to unseal that grand jury testimony, and as you know, they have also moved forward with interviewing Ms. Maxwell, which I believe will be taking place very soon. Go ahead. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. I have a question about Paul Ingrassia, the OSC nominee who faces a Senate committee hearing tomorrow. Tom Tillis said that he wouldn't vote for Ingrassia if a vote came to the Senate floor. 24 worker advocacy groups have said that they don't support his nomination. What is the White House planning to do to sort of turn the tide or convince legislators that they should vote for him?
The White House is always in communication with members of both the Senate and the House, and we stand by the president's nominees. Sure.
In connection with the Mueller investigation, a grand jury indicted 13 Russians. President Putin has said he will never extradite those men. Given the new information that Ms. Gabbard has found, what's the administration's position on that case? Should those charges be dropped?
I don't have an update for you on that case, but I'll check in
You
with
should
the
have asked
National
while she
Security
was
Council,
still in
and our
there.
team will get you something. Sure.
Thank you so much. So Fannie Willis and Jack Smith separately, they both charged President Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States and a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. It now turns out we're confirming that Obama and his cronies were doing that the first time in 2016 on a massive scale, falsifying documents and having their intel agencies do this. What does this say about the
Stop waving
2020
your hands.
election? And also, what's your thoughts on the irony here?
There is a lot of irony, especially for the party of the Democrat Party, who claims to be for democracy. We often heard throughout the 2024 campaign they were
not
calling
democracy.
this president a threat to democracy. And now I think the declassification of all of these documents proves that they were indeed the true threat to democracy. And as I said repeatedly today, there needs to be justice and accountability for that. You all will hear directly from the president later this afternoon at the AI Summit here in Washington, D.C., scheduled to speak later in a few hours. So we will see.
How can the state of Florida judge who, I'm pretty sure this is done. Yeah. How the fuck, I can take this shit off. People want this information put out. I get it. You have to redact names, victim faces, and pictures like that. I get it. But grand jury testimony, grand jury readings and findings, why not release it? Right? Especially in the state of Florida. You know, where Pam Bondi was the AG, where they voted to put pedophiles, well, I don't know if it actually completed, where pedophiles can get the death sentence. Trump's home state, Ron DeSantis' home state, where they're very anti-pedophile. Can we say that's kind of fair enough? But now, the state of Florida, who actually has a lot of fucked up shit if you think about it. The zombie guy, bath salts. Alligators, people eating each other's face off, you know. The weirdest of the weird. I just don't get it. I really don't. And maybe that's why the House of Representatives should have fucking voted instead of taking a week off early. A week earlier off. The more and more this drags on, the more and more it drags on. I really don't think Trump's in it negatively. I don't now. But why would him and a bunch of other senators, who, by the way, and representatives, because forget Congress as a whole, receive money from this political action committee? Which, by the way, Hakeem Jeffries got the most money from this this organization this past election cycle, to a country where you can go there as a pedophile and they will not extradite you. to a country whose people have been kicked out of like 109 different countries. And Mossad, Ghislaine Maxwell, Mossad. Where's Mossad from? Right. I guess I am anti-Semitic. I very well could be. But it's just like I said, I don't like how this other dude that everyone seems to watch more than me talks about Jews and they make fun of him. He puts a whole video together about Jews and they make fun of him. What about, I use historical examples. And the main historical part of history, that makes me, I will never trust Israel, ever, considering we helped them become Israel, and, well, how did they thank us? How did they thank us? By attacking an American Navy vessel for hours and hours, knowing, reports come out knowingly that it was an American ship, right? This is before our time, but it happened. And Israel was like, oh, we didn't know. They tried to deny it, even though Johnson knew. Johnson knew that it happened and that it was probably on purpose. Because you know what? When you don't kiss the wall, they take you out. And guess who did kiss the wall? Donald Trump. Who was the last president to not kiss the wall? JFK. Just think about it. Yes, I know all about the dancing Israelis on the New Jersey side, filming and dancing on the roof of their van. They were arrested, detained, or whatever, and just let go on a white van. Yeah, I know a little bit about the dancing Israelis. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But when you think about it, the Jews run Hollywood. The Jews run the music industry. Listen to Kanye. He may be a little fucked up in the head, but he's kind of right. He's kind of right. I wouldn't call it Jew hate. It's Israel hate. And if that's a product of Israel, then so be it. So be it. Hurry up, Roots. There we go. All right. Let's get that up. For some reason, when I click on YouTube now, it fucking opens up in like an app on my screen. It's kind of weird. You hear it? No, you can't. I put it on the wrong one.
A long time ago, early September, I heard some friends of mine I'd like for you to remember. They get up in the morning to catch that worm at 8 a.m. so they could see those buildings burn. They're not meant to be heard or be seen. My friends, the 5 dancing Israelis, they were there to document events. Had some nice fancy cameras, and they got the lighters all set. When the first plane hit, they all celebrated. They knew the job was half done, so they hung around and waited. They're not meant to be heard or be seen. My friends, the 5 dancing Israelis. After both those towers came down, they hopped in the urban moving van, tried to get out of town. They had a lot of money and plane tickets to get away.
They did.
Officer Scott DiCarlo stopped them. They were detained, but not for long. They got lit out. They were back home in Israel after just a couple months. You'd think after that they'd lay a little low, but they bragged about it on their local TV show. They weren't meant to be heard or be seen. My friends, the 5 dancing Israelis.
Bro, it's kind of like I said it. Word for word. He's right. I like it. And done. I like it. And it's very true. Very true. Literally, almost like I told you guys. Crazy, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time today has come to an end. And well, historically, people should understand why they've been kicked out of 109 different countries. It's not about hate. Not at all. It's about history. It's the same reason people hate Russia, because their history of communism, right? But remember, you can't talk about a certain group of people. And not black people. No, you can talk about them now. It's cool to talk about them. You can't talk about Israelis and Jews. Remember, Jews were building a tunnel in New York City. Recently. Anyway. Kind of pisses me off about that judge. But we all know the true reason this shit is not going to happen. It's not. Of course it won't. Don't forget, Vladimir Putin told George Soros to get the fuck out of my country and take everything that you own with you. Remember, Vladimir Putin kicked that little fucking pedophile-loving supreme ruler of the, underworld, underboss, world elites, blood-drinking faggots. I don't really know where I'm going with this, because YouTube might censor some of this. Then again, maybe not. But I'm not telling y'all how to think. I'm not. Because if I told you how to think, you would all really, really dislike the Jewish people. From the beginning of time. Remember, if you're a Christian, who betrayed one of the most famous Jews in history? Oh, a Jew. Okay. Just making sure. Just making sure. It's almost like I want to get religion so I can join the crusade. I'm not telling y'all how to think. I'm just telling you to think. And remember, Remember, I am in fact not suicidal. Alright. Now that we've gotten that straight, I hope you all have a good rest of your Wednesday. Now you can return to your regularly scheduled panels because, well, Judas. Judas is 100% right. And now that you said Judas, I have to stop this song because it's required and play another song.
You are innocence personified, and I will drag you down and sell you out. Run away. I am cold like December snow.